Hi guys, and welcome to another Zoom chat today. I'm very excited to have with me a former Springbok, Tonderai Chavhanga, and then my other guest is Rob Hersov, chairman of S Group and Invest Africa. Guys, thanks so much for being with me today and all our viewers. I'm going to just swing the ball first to Tondi, and Tondi, chat to me about the S Group, and obviously we've been in conversation just recently about this new project you and Rob are part of. Just give us a bit of background to what it is and the vision you have.
Yeah, so the S Group is, it's an incredible platform where you've got friends and friends of friends. It's really just a network of business people as well as current sports stars, former sports stars, celebrities, and the likes. And it's really just a great place for a great platform for for people to really network and do good as well. So I became a member last year, and a few months ago, Rob the chief gave me an opportunity to actually be part of it and be mentored by him. And so I've been working with the S Group for the past few months, and it's been absolutely phenomenal.
That's awesome. And Rob, just turning to you, give us a bit of a background to your history, your business involvement, and
Sure.
just your passion for rugby that probably led you into this new venture.
So I know I look 30 years old, but I'm actually almost 60. And I sort of went to school, Michael House, UCT, did my military service, and then left the country in 85. And for 31 years lived abroad. But I never lost my love for the country and the Springbok team, And 3 years ago, I came home. So my business is all based in London, and I'm kind of been working remote for 3 years from Cape Town. And this S Group business, which it is a business, came about. It just sort of evolved from a group of WhatsApp channels, and which had a DNA. And the DNA really was friends of friends, sportsmen, athletes, rugby players, people who like to argue, fight, disagree, hug it out, have a drink, and be friends and do business. And it all of a sudden occurred to me that, this was a blank canvas of great people. Why don't we launch a few, new ideas and new channels? And Tondi and I had been working together for a while. And he said, look, I've got this dream, this vision to connect business leaders as mentors to, rugby players, to sports people and athletes, but rugby players initially, to help them migrate from a rugby life to a commercial life. And I said, well, let's do it. So he came back, I think it was 12 hours later with a plan of action. And by the next morning, we kicked it in. And that's what S Rugby is. And maybe Tondi wants to tell you a bit more about what it is exactly.
Yeah. So essentially, like Rob articulated so well. I mean, for myself, I think as a rugby player, I always thought that the unions could certainly do a lot more in terms of equipping the players and making sure that the players are better prepared for life after rugby. And, it had always been a passion of mine to actually do something where you can assist players to transition better. I mean, there's been so many stories of not just rugby players, but sports people in general that have really struggled, after their careers were over, of which, I mean, I won't even be shy to admit I was one of the people, one of those statistics that, if you want to call it that, of the guys that really battled. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me, I find, is that the mistakes that I made, I'm sure I still would have made mistakes, but had I been mentored and it's somebody to sort of show me the ropes a little bit, I certainly would not have made those mistakes. So I think, meeting with Rob and, getting to be mentored and learning from him, that's something that I certainly saw that there was value within the over 2,000 members that we've got within the S Group, of some really high net worth individuals, captains of industry, and, obviously celebrities and sports people. I really thought that it was a perfect marriage for the vision that that I heard, and I know that Rob specifically is very much big into paying it forward and contributing, being the solution instead of somebody that complains. So really, just from speaking to current players and some of the players that are part of this S Group, S Connect Rugby now, they are so grateful to be on the platform, because I think for the longest time, a lot of the guys have longed to have a platform like that, where they've got direct access to captains of industry, people that can show them the ropes and also open up opportunities, expand their networks. So this has been very well received. I mean, if you look at the names that we've got in this group, you're looking at Sia Kolisi, Cheslin Kobe, you've got Malcolm Marx, you've got legends like John Smith, Bob Skinstad, even Lawrence Delalio, Will Carling, and the names go on. We've got I think we've probably got about 50 current and former rugby players that are on this platform, as well as a really good, strong business, some really strong business leaders that are part of this.
Yeah, and that sounds very very much like something I'm sure Rob can maybe expand on the potential for it there. Rob, just on that note, I mean, I guess you're in the aspect of the mentorship side, but maybe just chat about suddenly the things maybe you've seen from these rugby players that you wouldn't have expected in terms of some of their business interests and some of their business savvy, and how you can actually connect with them to ensure that maybe if they've got a certain passion that you can help with that mentorship, so that beyond rugby they've got maybe a bit of help and kind of start steering them into a different direction when that time comes towards the end of their career or looking for something post rugby.
Do you know, the first thing to look at is some of the rugby players that have done extremely well in business. John Smith is running a very big security firm up in sort of the Gauteng area, very successful, profitable, fast growing. And I heard from somebody, a foreigner who went to have a meeting there with John, said, and he's in that industry worldwide, he said, this is the best management team I've met outside of the United States. And this company is in 20 different countries. To hear that makes me so proud, that he migrated from rugby. And Bobby Skinstad is a very, very professional private investor, works for Draper Gain out of London. And, 7 years from rugby into very senior level. And a couple of people have had meetings with him say, very impressive. Ian Bolshaw runs a finance business. Nick Farr-Jones is a broker out of Australia. Kobus Visa's got a fantastic coffee business that's growing rapidly with his wife. So, rugby players are, and Tondi, listen, he says he was lucky to meet me. I'm lucky to have met him. He's unbelievable. He'd be taking my to. And it is happening, but it's not happening in a scale enough because, often rugby players kind of leave it quite late. So they're the 30-year-old or 32-year-old trying to get into industry and feel that they have to study. Now, the last thing you need to do is a 2-year MBA. Business is logic, but I would recommend doing certain courses. But often people get sold the wrong courses. So I'm going to say it now. The courses that people should be doing today are the courses of the future. Data analytics, artificial intelligence, investment banking, finance. You can't go wrong with some finance training, but you don't have to be an accountant to understand finance. Just do basic of accounting. 4 weeks. 4 weeks on data analytics, you get hired like that. And those are the kind of courses that I would advise, people coming out of sports to take to best position themselves for a career. Yeah. And then the final thing is I had a dinner with some of the Springboks about 1.5 years ago. And I won't say who, but one of them took me aside. So he didn't want to say it in front of the other guys. And he said, Rob, if I have X in the bank, can I retire with that amount in the bank? It was a fascinating question. And I thought, surely at this point, the unions would have talked to him about how much to save, how much you need to pay the rent, pay your mortgage, schooling for your kids, and how much you then need to earn to make up the difference. But they hadn't done that.
Sure.
So I'm so glad we're doing this.
Yeah, definitely. And Tondi, just touching on what you were mentioning earlier about your experiences as a player, and perhaps as Rob was mentioning, the fact that there have been things lacking in terms of preparing players for life after rugby. Do you think this period of lockdown is perhaps what's brought it into focus, and the fact that guys during this period have suddenly realized how quickly things can change and start during a time where they're not playing, to think, well, if rugby wasn't an option, what would I be doing next? Is that something that's maybe opened everyone's eyes a little bit to planning for things alternative to rugby?
No, certainly. I really think obviously there's pain being felt now, because I think getting the pay cuts that the players would have received is quite painful, and all of a sudden. But I think it's not something that is unique to just rugby players. I think the majority of people have experienced some sort of a pay cut in one way or another. I think it is also sort of, like you rightly said, it is kind of made everybody look outside of what they normally do and say, oh, wow, maybe we could do things a little bit differently. And obviously bringing back from a rugby perspective, it is, I think, I can certainly say as a former player, being a rugby player, you can actually live in a bubble where absolutely everything is done for you. You're earning a good salary. You don't book your flight tickets. You get a nice car, a nice sponsored car. You get, like, really the gravy train it's nice when it's going, and it can limit your view on life, thinking that that's how life really is out there, but it's far from it. So I'm in a way, I really do believe that it's a blessing in disguise for majority of the guys, because they've really had to look and at their futures, post rugby, and maybe perhaps had the COVID-19 pandemic not happened, that probably would not have happened.
Yeah. No, very true. And Rob, maybe just a final one on your side. I mean, we were obviously chatting a bit about that that sort of financial savvy, and I've heard Francois Lowe, for example, is retired from Test rugby, and now he's moving, if I'm not mistaken, into that sort of thing where he's helping the former teammates and players with regards to financial planning. I mean, from your side, is that something that perhaps needs a little bit of extra help? Is that something that the S Group will be able to help mentor the guys and give them some guidance?
So I shouldn't be telling you this, but I will. But Tommy and I and our team's basically 5 people. We had on one of our things called Lion Cage, which is kind of Dragon's Den, but for businesses that have revenue. A Cape Townian company called iExperience. And they had an analog business, experience. People would come to Cape Town or other places, learn things in an environment. COVID hits, business gets wiped, the revenues get wiped. And these guys pivoted very quickly into online digital education, which is a competitive space. But they offer courses to help university students be better prepared to get a job, which is the same thing as really helping athletes get better prepared to get a job. You're at a certain age now and you've learned certain things, but they're not the right things for what the world is today. I mean, education really isn't the right curriculum for the world today, for the people we need to hire. So we've had a chat to iExperience, and this is going to put them under the pressure here to create sort of a 1-week course, a Monday morning to Friday evening intense course, which I like to call the corporate or executive future technology course. And it's going to be a mix of artificial intelligence, data analytics, some finance, and maybe a little element of management consulting. And that's the course that I'm thinking that Tondi and I are thinking that we should offer for free. I need to get this financed to professional rugby stars migrating. A 1-week, you can imagine a 1-week course, but you really have to sit down Monday morning and study till Friday night. But yeah, that 1 week could be a game changer. So sure. Come on, iExperience, you're going to do it for free. You heard it here.
Great. And Tony, let me just leave maybe the final word for you, just in terms of some of the other philosophies or fundamentals of the S Group. And I mean, it's still relatively fresh and new, and I'm sure you got big plans. What are some of the kind of maybe longer term hopes as you and Rob continue to work on this project?
Yeah, look, obviously for us, we want to be the, most exclusive club in the world, but for us, it's also, it goes beyond just the business side and the people making money. I think we're very much about paying it forward and making sure that, we are giving back. If you look at a lot of the initiatives that particularly Rob and the S Group, I mean, through working with One SA, We've been doing some work with SIA. I mean, even if you look at this, the S Connect Rugby group, what we're actually doing with most of the finances that are coming in is that we're actually distributing them to the players within the group's charities. And I think a lot of the players have really stepped up and have done phenomenal work in terms of looking after their communities. So that's the biggest thing for us. Yes, it's a mixture of highly influential individuals, but it's really a thing of making sure, it's like the typical cliche of with great power comes great responsibility. That ultimately is the goal of making sure that we do our bit to change the world.
Awesome. Jens, thanks so much for joining me and sharing some insights into the exciting new project you're doing, and keep well in lockdown, and I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more from both of you and the S Group going forward.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks so much. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, man.